As we say, hey, come on, pay attention to me. You know?
It's the Cool Bible Guy!
What's up, guys? It's Steve, the Cool Bible Guy, and today's verse of the day is the first book of Samuel, chapter 3, verse 10, which reads, "The Lord came and stood there, calling, like at other times, 'Samuel, Samuel.' Then Samuel said, 'Speak, for your servant is listening.'" Okay, so why is this verse relevant to today? So in 2024, God speaks to us every day and tries to connect us with the best version of ourselves, and each day is a lesson. In other words, it's stepping stone to the next level. So when we ignore this guidance and ignore the lessons that we're being taught by God, he continuously beats us over the head with that lesson until we learn and grow into the better people that he designed us to be. So let's go into a little bit of a way how we can apply this to our everyday life today here in 2024. So we want to develop a habit of prayer and meditation first, because when we have a dedicated time, whether it's once a week, once a day, once a month, whatever, obviously the more frequent, preferably daily, at least once a day would be preferred, but the more frequent you can do it, the better, because that establishes a stronger relationship, as with any relationship you would have, whether it be God or someone else. So you want to start that habit of prayer and meditation. For me, meditation's it's just never going to happen, but my brain is too ADD to focus on anything else for a shorter period of time in that Zen state. But prayer is like actively talking to God. I can totally do that. It's a lot easier for me. So you guys do it, whatever's easier for you. The second thing I want to talk about is once you get that prayer and meditation, you want to act in place. You want to actively seek guidance from God, because you want to approach your decisions, your challenges, your opportunities, all of this with a desire to seek guidance as to what the heck you need to do next. You want to be open to receiving these insights through prayer and your meditation or whatever other spiritual practice you want to use. Because God also said in the Bible, "Seek and you shall find." So if you're not seeking, you're never going to find. I mean, if you're out trying to pursue a goal or pursue a dream, that's great. You're eventually going to achieve it, no matter what. It's inevitable. But if you're sitting on your couch at home just binging on Netflix or whatever, then no, you're never going to achieve it, because you're not doing the things necessary to achieve it. So that's what I mean when you actively seek guidance, when you actively pursue answers and a dream and a goal, you'll get there, because God always delivers. The third thing I want to talk about is you want to practice active listening. So not only am I telling you guys to ask, I want you guys to also listen, because a lot of people just ask and ask and ask and talk and talk and talk, but they don't ever listen to the response. They don't seek the answer. They just are all for the question. God, I want this. God, I need this. God, I want this. God, I need this. But they don't actually listen for the answer, and instead they just take it as, oh, well, God told me no. God never answered my prayer. God, left me hanging, left me high and dry. That's not the way it works. You have to practice active listening. And while this may not be super easy to do with God, because he's not always as simple as talking to God as if it were like talking to someone in front of you, face to face. But what you can do is you can practice on the people in your life that you do see face to face, like whether it be your parents, your siblings, your friends, your coworkers, teammates, whatever it is, you can practice on by actively listening to them. Don't just stand there waiting for your chance to talk. Actually listen to what they're saying and completely digest what they're saying, and then formulate a thought. As we've said on other episodes, seek to understand, then be understood. So when you're actively listening to other people, they taught us in sales, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's because you're supposed to be listening twice as much as you're talking. Practice listening, active listening to the people in your life, and it'll come easier when it comes to actively listening to God's responses. The fourth thing that I want to talk about is kind of a harder one, where you have to be open to change. So what we started with, developing a habit of prayer, then seeking guidance, then listening actively for the answer. And then once we get the answer, we have to be open to the fact that it may not be what we want, which is kind of a frustrating and annoying experience whenever we talk to other people about this. Like when we ask our kids to do something, or when we ask our friends or family to do something for us and they say no, or they say not right now or later, or I'll get to it, or a coworker and you're waiting for them to finish an assignment and they don't, and it's just like, God, that's frustrating. So you want to be open to the answers that, God's going to give you answers on occasion that you're not going to want to hear, but he knows they're the right things for you. He knows that it's just like a parent with a child. Sometimes a child's going to ask for something that's completely unreasonable or is not the best for them, and you're going to tell them no.
Mother knows best.
God's going to do the same to you. When you ask for something that he knows is not in your best interest, and that there's another way that you should take that will lead you to even more happiness than the request you're currently asking, he's going to say no to that one and point you in a different direction towards the one that's going to help you more. And you have to be open to that change. You have to be open to, in the verse, it says, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. You have to be listening, and you have to be open. So it's not just, it's one thing to be actively listening, but then it's another thing to be open to that change. And I know that's not easy, because we all have our certain quote unquote blueprint as to the way we want our life to look the way we want our life to look. And sometimes we get a little, too dug in on that. And this is the part where we have to actually let go of, kind of put our life in God's hands and just absolutely just let go and be like, God, you know what? It's in your hands. Where do I need to go? Wherever you tell me, I'll go. Just lead me down the path, show me the path and I'll walk it. I'll stop building the path on my own, because I don't know where the hell I'm going. But you know what? You show me the path, and then I'll go down that path. And that's what you pray for. And sometimes that path's going to take you to places that are really not places you thought you'd ever be. But it turns out in the long run, it is actually a place that you needed to go to that place in order to get to the next place, which is the place you probably really wanted to be at. And God said, hey, look, you can get to that place, but you have to go this way as opposed to the way you originally thought. And that's the beauty of the journey, actually, and which is the coolest part about life, is that it is a journey. And when you just give it up to God and let him take over, that's the part that makes it fun. It's like, hey, it's in your hands, God. Let's see, take me for a ride. Let's go see how this thing goes, and I'll trust you entirely. And that habit becomes a lot easier when you start practicing it. So you need to start practicing it, which leads me to my next point, which is you have to start approaching life with a sense of humility. Because when you think you know everything, and when you think, I don't need God, God's not real, I don't need this guy, he doesn't, there's some guy in the clouds that's not going to tell me what to do. When you start acting like that person that's full of bravado and know-it-allness, then you are going to end up basically face planting at some point, and you may not be able to get up. When you practice humility and you do let go and just give it to God to handle, that's where the cool stuff starts to happen. That's, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, that's where the magic happens. And it truly is almost, the word, I guess I don't have a better word for it, but it really is magical. It's crazy how that kind of stuff starts to happen, and you start to see things fall into place. Relationships with people you didn't think you'd be having relationships with. It's like, wow, I'm friends with so-and-so now. It's like, I never thought I'd be friends with that guy in a million years. Or so-and-so came back into my life, and like, wow, I can't believe how we've hit it off since, I haven't talked to her in 20 years or whatever. And these relationships start to appear or reappear when you least expect them, and they are for the better. So that's why you need to approach life with this sense of humility. So that's the cool part. Lastly, I want to go over practicing patience, because in the verse, which we didn't get into the whole story of the verse here, we just talked about that one. The extended story is that Samuel didn't immediately recognize God's voice. In fact, he had to demonstrate patience, which is crucial in your spiritual journey, because in today's world, 2024, everybody wants it now. We all want it now. We want this TikTok life, this immediate life, get rich quick. Don't put in the work and just get all the results. Like, that's the kind of life we have been delivered.
I can't wait for this thing. We're taking the stairs,
I guess. And it's kind of an annoying life, and it kind of goes against what God teaches us in the Bible about practicing patience. So you want to trust that guidance will come on its own time frame, and it's the time frame that God knows that's the best time frame for you. So you just have to make sure that you are at the ready. And we've talked about that in another verse of the day before, where you need to be prepared and ready to go for when God calls. And if you're not ready, God's going to call. It's going to be like the UPS driver when they come to your house and you're not home, and then they leave a slip on your door and said, hey, we were here to drop off the package, but you weren't here. So now you have to wait another day for us to come back, and hopefully you'll be home next time. Well, you don't want that. That's annoying, because it's like, oh my God, I just missed them by 20 minutes. And now you got to wait a whole 24 hours now because you weren't there. Well, the same thing happens with God. When God shows up to knock on the door, you better be there to answer it, because now opportunity is here. Time to take action, time to get on to the next thing, the next phase of your life, time to take the next step in the journey and move on. And that's why you need to practice patience, because we don't know when he's coming or when the next opportunity is coming, but we need to be ready to take that step when God gives us the opportunity to take it. So on that note, guys, we'll wrap up there. And remember, all of these principles and applications are unique to everybody, and everybody's living their own journey. So apply them in the best way that you see fit for your own life. And on that note, we'll end on a prayer. God, I confess I often do all the talking, and I don't always expect or listen for the answer. Thank you for always paying attention, though, always listening, and for always being ready to respond and give guidance. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Please give me ears to hear what you are saying. Amen.